Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we are joined by Jana Niksa. Jana is an authentic sales coach, mixing the woo with the do to make it work for you. I love that so much, Jana, and I'm really glad that you're on this show. And even though we are in the same industry, just, right up front, we had pretty good conversation about this just before the show.
15 minutes, in fact.
Yeah. Our pre-show was at the show. Sorry, you guys, you missed it. Just kidding. Welcome to the show, Jana.
Thank you so much. We'll try to conjure it back up a little bit. I'm sure that we can find our way back into some of these conversations since we share so many similar views. So
We do. We were both in sales for many, many years. Like my whole adult life, I've been in sales. That's just what I did. And we both have kind of the same idea about how selling doesn't have to be icky and pushy and all the things that we were taught early on. They had to be. You always have to be closing. ABC.
Yes. God. It's really interesting. I've obviously reflected about this, having been in sales for over 2 decades, wondering where do we get off track, right? Like, how is it that so many people loathe the idea of sales and selling, and yet it's still what is taught primarily in the industry, whether it's, in the sales industry or the coaching industry. And it's just kind of mind-boggling to me. But the truth is, it was created for men by men 100+ years ago, and we've really evolved past it. So can we just please get an upgrade? Can we move on?
For sure. The whole way of just trying to pressure people into things and manipulate people into doing things. Everything in life involves selling. Yeah, honestly, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to exchange your services or products for some medium. Generally, it's money, and things have value, intrinsic value, and that value is what somebody is willing to pay for the thing that you're offering. And it's about making it as attractive as possible. But it goes beyond that today, to me, and it's about helping people more than pushing them into something that may or may not be in their best interest.
Well, and when you think about it, when you're a coach or even a service-based entrepreneur, you're in the people business. And the last thing I want to do is push somebody into working one-on-one with me for potentially a year, more possibly. And they don't want to, how good do you think the results are going to be? So it's, when you really think about it fundamentally, it's just flawed. We want people they're like, yes to you. You are an absolute 100% full body yes. And then, those are the people that are going to get the results because they're your people and they really trust what you're telling them. But if you're already pushing them, you're breaking trust right up front. And then, it's just going to be awkward, for the rest of potentially a year. So why would we do that to somebody else and ourselves? It's draining.
And it wrecks your reputation in the long run.
Yeah. You're not going to get testimonials, referrals. I mean, none of that stuff is coming your way when you don't give the person, what they wanted. Right. And if they're being pushed into it, it's not what they want.
And you can manipulate people into things. I mean, we both know how to do it, but I don't want to do it. And I've spent several years as a closer, which is somebody who sells someone else's program. And I was taught all of the manipulative tricks to get somebody to say yes. And I've made it my mission to not do that in my own coaching practice, and to not teach other people to do that, because it's not necessary. It's, somebody wants a few days to think about it and to sit with it, especially with coaches. Coaches always like to sit with something and see how it feels and maybe think about it. And, if they're your people, they're coming back. If they're not your people, that's fine. There are other people out there who do need you.
Absolutely. And I think what it really comes down to is the older model and just society in general. Like, if we want to go into that, like, it's based on fear, and what we're offering to our clients and to the industry is a sales model that's based far more on, I know this gets overused even by the pushy ones, service and love, and just that human connection. And what I find working with people, once they dump the whole, I don't want to do it, slimy, sleazy, all the things, they find that it's actually fun. Like, they just get to have incredible conversations with potential people that they can help. And, maybe they offer them a tip or two in the process that they go, oh, wow, yay, I needed that. And it just sort of comes together naturally. It doesn't need to be all the force and the push and all of those things. It's, like I said, it's so many of us have evolved past that. We see it when the offer stack, and it's like, you're going to get this and this and this and this and this. And usually it's worth $1 million, but today you're going to get it for $5.99. I mean, come on, like, let's just
do we really believe that?
What?
Do we really believe that? I mean,
it's just silly. It's so silly. It's as silly as the whole, and I don't, it's fine that they do it, but it's as silly as the thing that they do at concerts, right? Where they're like, thank you. And then they close the curtain and everybody knows that they're going to come back in and do another song.
5 more songs.
Right. and it's just sort of silly. And I think that that's kind of what people see now. They just see through the razzle and the dazzle. And frankly, I don't want a bunch of bonuses I don't want. But, what I want is the next thing that I know I'm going to need, or the one missing piece that I don't think this program is going to provide. I don't need 1 million things. That's not valuable to me. And for somebody that has ADD, that's just going to overwhelm me, because I also feel like, I bought it, I definitely need to go through it. And it's like, no, you don't, Jana. It's about running a radio station. You're not going to be doing that. So just let it go. But, they just put it in there because it looks good. And we just got to get past all that surfacey razzle dazzle stuff and get real intentional and authentic,
We're heading into a more minimalistic world with short attention spans, and the people that I know don't want to sit around for an hour and a half watching a video about something when they really only need 10 minutes worth of the information that's being presented to you.
Right.
And when I start seeing things like, I'm just going to overwhelm you with stuff, I'm like,
right.
No,
it's too much.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, where do I even begin? I thought I just needed this one thing. Now I feel like I need like 50 more things that I don't need, which is another whole part of the issue. really and truly, when you boil it down, getting clients is not that complicated, right? It's all about a 3-step process from how do I message and attract them, right? Which is a huge art, it's a skill. It's not just strategy. And it's just about, basically like turning on your bat signal and like your people will see it. So how do I do that? And you can call it lead generation, you can call it whatever you want. There's all different ways, outbound and inbound. And then the middle of the process is, okay, now they're here. What do I do with them? Like, how do I get them to really know who I am? And more importantly, which people don't focus on, how do I get to know them? Right? Like, how do I make that a dialogue? This is not just, you're in my world now, watch how great I am. It's a two-way street. And then of course, what we're all talking about now, right? The sales piece. But yet what happens, and I speak from my own experience, even having been in the sales world forever, I came in here and I was like, oh, well, I guess I do need this. I need the website, and I need, the brand colors and the logo and I'm going to create a course now. And I'm like, how about you just get back to getting clients? Like, how about you just go back to that 3-step process and stop the shiny object syndrome? Because the truth is and if they overcomplicate it, and they may not be doing this consciously, but then they have things to sell you, like check out my XYZ that just does XYZ and you'll be, a millionaire in 30 days, and so people just this is where they really get stuck, I think, is that's
feel like they need a whole
bunch got the answer. And so they're implementing all over the place, and there's no like fluidity, no consistency. No.
And they feel like they need to provide, as coaches, that they need to have like 47 different things to offer instead of just one. All you need is one offer and one client. You can build from there. But let's just get that one client for you. And you get it by having conversations with real people who need what you have to offer, whose problems you solve really well.
Right. And, it's about developing the skills to do that. Not the little plug and play shortcut. There's no skipping steps. I had a client that was really resistant to networking and talking with people. And I'm like, listen, you got to get in there and do that, because that is a big part of not only getting clients, but serving clients. Like, we have to talk. And so you can't hide in the DMs forever, not if you're going to be a coach that has a high ticket offer. Maybe if you want to sell, lower ticket programs, whatever, that's fine. But if you're in that place and that's where you want to serve, you got to get really comfortable being able to talk about who you are, what you do, who you help, and how you do it differently. And that's key. And that's another piece of this that, I try not to get triggered, but, some of the younger crowd is like, never have to ever talk to anyone and sell your stuff. And it's like, sorry, at the end of the day, it's a human to a human. I mean, you can connect in the DMs and you can email and do all these things, but we can't hide behind the screen forever, Yeah,
it's all about connection. We are designed to be connected to other human beings.
Absolutely. And so it just blows my mind. And then you've got these coaches that latch onto that and then perpetuate it, right? Like, just make money in your sleep with never having to do it. And I'm just like, come on now. Like, if it were that easy, everybody would do it. Like, let's really call it what it is. It's a strategy. It's a skill development. It's a lot of inner work. And it's not an overnight thing, and so that's another big part of my mission, is to undo this programming that's been done here that says, just buy my thing and you'll have 30K in 30 days. And so you've got all these newer coaches running around like, well, where's my 30K in 30 days, and for some, yeah, they can come in and do it, but I guarantee you there's more to the story, right? They already know how to market really well. They know, social media, whatever it is, but all those things have to be built one way or another. It doesn't. It's just not an overnight success.
It's not an overnight success, and there's steps to it. And everybody starts at the beginning. And I find that a lot of times coaches will go to coaching school and they'll get a certification, and then they'll hang out their shingle and realize, usually they create a website and realize that nobody's coming. So maybe I need another certification. So they go back and get more certifications.
Right. That's another way they get stuck. If it's not in like the key to success, like this is the missing piece, shouldville, they're in like, I'm not enoughville. Like, let me just get more things. And then people will come, which, I'm suggesting, and I know you're suggesting that it's about having conversations. It's about really being clear about what you do. And then, the big piece that makes most people the most uncomfortable is, and then asking them if they want to work with you, And
that should be a natural extension of the conversations that you've had, though. It
Absolutely.
should be like, you know them so well that you can help them. There's no doubt in your mind that, this is what I do. This is my superpower. Let me help you, please.
Yeah. I was on a call earlier with a potential client, and, it's almost, she's like, you know my problem better than I even do. Like you're giving me really, just by describing who you help, you've just given me insight into what my problem is. And that is where the magic is. And that takes a lot of intentional time to know somebody and what you do and how you help them. It doesn't need to be, I know people struggle with their niche and it's like got to be just right, but really the clarity comes with action. It comes with having the conversations. It comes with putting yourself out there. The woo and the do thing that came from, I don't even know, but people love it. Like I know every time I say it, they're like, yeah, the woo and the do, and so I know that's part of a lot of my messaging now. And that just comes with doing it. And so it's almost silly that you can have an idea of those things, but until you really get out there and test, which I don't think people talk about enough, that just the trial and error and testing and not taking it personally. If nobody raises their hand for your lead magnet and just paying attention, I mean, it's like just staying curious in that, because just because nobody wants it doesn't mean you stink. It just means you didn't share about it properly. That's all. That's it. So now go back and try to figure out what's going to resonate more, So.
And clarity, you're right. Clarity does come often from talking to enough people that you like, that you want to work with, and finding out, what is your problem? How do you describe your problem? Because if you can find out how they describe the problem, then you can give it back to them in that way. It's so many times I think coaches come from the position of, this is the thing I do. I hope there's people out there that need it. Or they do their message where, they overcame something, but they really don't know how to express that to other people in a way that other people can hear it, because they forgot what the problem was originally that they were suffering from, and kind of the beginning questions they were looking for answers to.
Yes. They're not Googling, I need more joy. They're Googling, how do I save my marriage? They're not Googling, I want more clarity, peace. How do I get more peace? They're saying, how can I talk to my teenager without like wanting to rip her hair out?
Yeah.
So, and that's where people miss the mark, because they're talking about the bigger thing, but it's really the story underneath the thing that people want. And when you figure that out for your people, then it becomes like I said, like a bat signal. It's like, oh my gosh, there she is. And so when you can message in that way, then people, before they even, back to the whole sales piece, the biggest thing with sales, and I know you know this with all your experiences, they don't buy when they really understand all that you have to offer. They buy when they feel understood. And if they can already feel understood within your messaging and your nurturing, then by the time they're on the sales call, they're just like, just how much? And
Yeah. And they don't really care what the process is to get them there. And they don't care that, you're going to do all this mindset work with them, because
nope.
every coach you'll ever come across is going to talk to you about mindset, because it all starts in our head. Everything starts in our head.
Right.
All they want to know is, are you going to get me to the solution that I'm looking for? I just want the result. I don't care how I get there.
I just want my teenager not to hate me. How do I do that? Don't tell me, I'm not a big fan of the Bro Club, but Alex Hermosi, I don't know if you're familiar with
I do love Alex Hermosi.
I do to a degree. I'm not a big fan of I'm going to work like 24/7, because I don't think that hustle thing needs to die a little bit. I mean, you need to work, but he's crazy. But anyway, that's beside the point. I don't know if you know his story, but I mean, he used to like sleep at the gym, and he wouldn't cook. He'd just eat Chipotle. And it was just like, I mean, that's a serious work ethic. And I'm a hard worker myself, but I don't want people to feel like
he has a wife.
Yeah.
And he has always had a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Or a girlfriend, or the woman in his life has been in his life this whole time.
Oh yeah.
It's not like most of the coaches we know are women, and they don't have a wife. They have a husband, which means they're doing for someone else, and they probably have kids.
We don't get away with, I'm just going to go get Chipotle.
Yeah.
Better yet, I'll just have it delivered like 2 times a day. That would not fly in my house. I have kids on top of it, which is a whole nother thing, that you have to layer in there.
Yeah. And the idea that, you don't run the vacuum for 2 days.
Right.
It won't get vacuumed, like, ever.
Right.
They just lack the vision to know that if I don't do something, I probably am going to die.
Right. They don't.
There's mom will do it.
Yeah. They have that tunnel vision. But what I will say that I like about him is, one, he is more woo than he lets on. Mm-hmm. And he's certainly more connected in that like heart space than, some of the others. But back to the whole sales thing, where you were talking about how they don't care about all the steps and all the things and the modules, and you're going to be in this Facebook group, and they don't care. They just want the result. And I love his explanation. I think your audience will too, if they haven't heard it. He says, sell the vacation, not the plane ride.
Yeah.
And it just really hits home with my clients too. Cause it's like, so are you going into your potential, customers? Like, so you're going to go to the airport, and then what we're going to do from the airport is we're going to put your bag, you're going to stand in this line, and then you're going to get on a plane, and so on and so on. So much of the time when they really check themselves, that is what they're talking about, and not, you're going to be in Hawaii and we're going to go to this waterfall and it's going to be amazing. And I know how you said you wanted to go rock climb. We're going to do that too. And you said also that it was important to you to jump off a cliff. We're going to do it, and that's the stuff they want to hear. So, back to the whole, I just want my teen, and this is not, my kids are not teenagers yet. So this is not but it's just a good example of like, I just want my kids to talk to me again. Like, I just want a hug from my husband, that's the result I want. I want to go to dinner with him, or I want him to look at me like, you're still got it, And so whatever it may be, but those are the results, not we're going to do all this inner work.
Yeah.
Journal every day.
Or
and I'm going
to meditate. Want to have hot flashes at night, and I want to sleep all night, for the menopause coaches out there. I mean, Those are questions people are Googling.
Yeah.
How can I sleep? How can I lose this stupid 15 pounds that I gained like overnight?
Right.
Those are crushing questions. And when you're talking to people to try to get them into your coaching program, you're going to be talking about, It's really easy. It's simple. It's fast. You're going to get this result like tomorrow if you just do what I tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll sign people up left and right.
Right.
Not
right. And, and it's not, back to the whole manipulation thing. Cause I know my clients, when they hear that, they think, well, isn't that like, the whole sell them what they want and give them what they need. And the thing is this, if you're like, well, is that manipulative? Is that misleading? But no, it's not. They just don't know what they need. They think they know, and they're Googling the wrong things. So it's your job as a coach to meet them where they're at. Sure, that's what we're going to do. It's going to be quick and easy and painless. But then when they start to come inside the container and they see the value in it, and they see how things are shifting, and they say, oh, wait, I don't have to change him. I actually just need to get better with me. But if you try to tell them all that on the outside, they're going to be like, it's not me. And so that's another big misstep I see coaches. They're creating content around, you need to do the inner work. You need to do, this is, it's all you. And while that may be true, a lot of people aren't ready to hear that quite yet, and so it's meeting them where they are. And then you get to give them what they want, but just so much more too, by the way, right? But it's just not going to be the way they expected,
And if they had expected it, if they knew what the answers were, they wouldn't need you to begin with.
Right. Right. And go ahead. Yeah.
I had it explained one time where you're showing people a gift. What you're going to describe is the wrapping paper, and you better make it pretty and have a nice bow. They're not going to know what's inside until they unwrap it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's really it. We have to appeal to that surface layer that is driving them to want to make a change. We can't try to educate them on why they're wrong. Way back in the sales world, we used to call that calling your baby ugly. You can't do that, because then they like you said, if they were ready to hear that right up front without going through that transformational process that they're going to go through with you, then they wouldn't have the problem. So it's just interesting. But, back to the whole stuff around sales, for anybody that's listening and just wanting to know more about, like, what does that look like? Like, how do we do that? I would say, some of the values that I really instill in my clients is deep listening, active listening. Because one of the biggest things people don't get in this fast-paced society is heard and seen and validated, And so when you can really hold that space and let them just open up, that on its own is so powerful. And then if you can be present and like really let that in, it energetically, they notice. It's a whole different experience versus the person that's just like kind of reading off a script and just sort of waiting for them to stop talking, pretending like they're listening, but really they're just waiting to talk, But and then when you can,
questions.
Yeah. And so asking those good open-ended questions that really gets them not only to maybe think about what they think their pain is, but just to even explore at a deeper level. And then from there, it's just like I was saying, like really also trusting your intuition in this. Maybe we need to spend more time here. Maybe we need to go there. And I don't know if you felt this, but some coaches, they'll just kind of, we got to rush through this thing. We got to do, and you feel that like, and you really want to be of service and remain unattached, which is beyond key.
Make eye contact.
Yes.
If you're doing it on Zoom, there's a trick, and I'm going to share this trick with everybody. Squeeze your screen up, stick it under your camera. So there's just like two people on your screen, and they're one on top of the other. Mm-hmm. The guest is always going to be on top. So when you're looking at the guest on your screen, you're looking into your camera. So it looks like you're looking right at them.
That's a great tip. I'm so going to use that. And here's why. I just end up looking at the guest because I'm such a, like, I can't, I have to feel into their energy, you know? But so I'm like, screw it. I know I don't look like I'm looking at the camera, but whatever. But now I can. So that's perfect. Cause I don't want to sacrifice. I just want that connection, you know?
Yeah, it's really important. And as a person on the other side, even if you're going to go on a Zoom call and they call it a discovery call, whatever they want to call it, if you squish the screen up so that it's kind of maybe a third of your screen, but you just center it in the center of your screen, then you're looking like you're looking at whoever's talking at you, and it makes the conversation go better. And it doesn't make you look like you're looking over to the side.
Right. Like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
No,
It actually looks like you're looking at me. So.
Oh, good. I feel that too, but I don't know. Everybody says look in the camera, but whenever I do, it looks funny to me. But anyway, all that aside, you know, back to this unattachment, because this always comes up too. And I like to read people's minds, not really, but sort of, just because I know what you're thinking a lot of the time. Like, how do I remain unattached? I got to eat, you know, like that's sort of like the ego in there, like trying to stir it all up. Like, this girl's crazy. How can I not care? Well, here's the thing. Like, whenever you're in lack scarcity, whenever you're in, I make it all happen, I'm the doer of it all. And whenever you're in that, like, I need to control the outcome, like those are all currencies or languages of the ego. So just by knowing that, you can start to like separate yourself. And ego is I guess, for lack of a better, it's another word for fear. And it's here to keep us small. And it has certain languages that it speaks to us to make sure that we sort of stay safe and we stay where we are. And so the long story short here is, when you get in that space, here's the trick. A couple things. One, I imagine, like, I like literally flick my ego, like, just not now, you know. I appreciate it if I'm walking into oncoming traffic, but in this moment, you're not necessary, because it doesn't serve the other person. It may be true that you need money. We all need money. Money makes the world go around. However, it doesn't belong in the sales conversation, because all that's going to do is put more pressure on you internally, which is going to put more pressure on them externally, and everybody's going to feel it. And so if you can learn to detach and go, oh, there goes my ego again. Yeah, I'll deal with you later. Then you can just really be present and show up and just be of service, and learn to release trust that when you show up in that way, the people that are meant to work with you are absolutely going to. And the fear doesn't help. And so then people will always say, well, but I mean, it's so true. Like, how can I separate that? Right. And this is my funny little thing I came up with. Oh, you have to let me know what you think. It's a little morbid, but the truth with a capital T is, we're all going to die. Right. Now, of course, we all have different beliefs about what happens after that, but your human suit is going to not live forever. But how well is that fact going to serve you in your everyday life? Like, what if you walked around with that same ego sitting on your shoulder saying, you're going to die, don't have kids. You're going to die, don't get married. You're going to die, what you don't need to have, you know, like, I mean, just imagine how damaging that would be. And the only reason it doesn't is because that's not one of the languages of the ego. I would actually venture to say the ego makes you think you're going to live forever. And so, but it's very much true, but it doesn't like just put this enormous amount of pressure on us on a daily basis. I mean, maybe, yeah, when you're in your 80s, you know, you start to feel that, oh crap, this is coming to an end, but ultimately it doesn't, but it's still true. And so I share that example so that people can understand that there can be a truth, but it doesn't have to sit right here on you. And it obviously wouldn't serve you.
And when you talk to your clients, You need to genuinely be curious about them,
Mhm.
and and you need to accept that, you're not meant to work with everybody.
Mm-mm.
And it's okay if they say no. Getting a maybe is worse than getting a no. A maybe is like false hope often. It's somebody who wants to say no, but they don't want to hurt your feelings,
Right.
or they don't really understand what you're talking about. Another really big tip I would have for people is really know what you're offering and how to express it in a way that paints a really good picture of the solution that you provide, the result that your client's going to get, and use the language that they've used during the conversation
Yes.
and feed it back to them. If they say, I want to make $10,000 a month, then this is how we're going to get you to that $10,000 a month barrier. Um, and it's not about product stacking. It's about, we have a process and we're going to take you through this process step by step. It's going to be easy. It's going to be simple. It's going to be fast. You can do this. And imagine how good it's going to feel. You were saying you would be able to do X, Y, and Z when we were talking. If you could get to this, whatever result you just said you wanted, it would allow you to do the thing that they already told you that they wanted to do. You're helping them paint themselves into the picture that you're trying to draw for them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how you make sales. And then if they tell you, I can't afford it, you ask them, well, putting money aside, is this something you want to do? Because if
Mm-hmm.
it's not something they want to do, then your conversation is done.
And that's
Bye.
such a,
Thank you.
yeah, it is such a big point too, because people will use that as a smoke screen because it's just easy, right? Like I don't have to tell her that I don't really like her program. I can just say I can't afford it. And so it's often not the objection, it's the objection under the objection. So asking a very pointed question like you did, like, okay, totally understand, money is a thing, but all that aside, is this the program for you? And then that really calls, and again, that's very hard for people. We have to work through self-worth. We have to work through fear of rejection. We have to work through money blocks and some of the things that just come and just sit on us. I say sales is like having children. It brings up all your stuff.
Yeah.
And but then when you are able to ask that in a very, unassuming way without a bunch of fear attached, then they can tell you. They feel safe enough to tell you, well, I mean, I've had people say, you know what, especially when I was selling a newer program a while back, and they're like, I'm still not entirely clear. I'm like, well, let's go back. Like, let's find out, where are you not clear? Like so you get to actually talk about whatever the elephant in the room is versus people who just say, oh, I can't afford it. And then you get uncomfortable because of your money stuff. And you're like, okay, see you later. It's like, just stay curious, stay neutral, stay curious, stay neutral.
And it also helps you when you get these objections. You're going to always get the same objections. It's just the way it is. You sell one thing long enough and you're going to always hear the same thing.
Yeah.
And it helps you to refine the way that you explain it, or it should, because the reason you're getting these questions, and they're really more questions than objections, um, is because they don't understand something. They don't understand how something is going to work for them clearly enough to make an intelligent decision about whether it's going to benefit them or not. And if you get to that point and you just give up, then you're really doing them a disservice because you haven't explained it properly. It's really
Right.
on you. And it's not personal. Uh, You know, they wouldn't be on the call if they weren't interested at some level in what you had to offer. Um, it's just a matter of, will it work for me? And that's
Yep. That is really
something
the
wrong sometimes.
ultimate objection. And that, I think, is why I get so feisty and fired up around, some of the other practices in the industry, because what they're doing by serving up these things and then not getting the results for people is they're making that belief in themselves, like it's just diminishing. And then it comes along, they actually meet a coach that can really help them, but their confidence level. I had a call with a girl and she's like, I've been in this space too. Maybe you have. And she's like, this feels like a full body yes. Like, I just adore you, Jana. And then she's like, but God, I felt that the last time too. Like, I feel like I've lost trust in myself, and I'm like, oh, and that just, it kills you, because the really good ones, and I walked through it too. I fell for it too. And that's why I speak so much up about it, because we need to be really truthful and honest. And these people just, I don't know. I think as we shift into more of that heart energy and as consciousness expands more, people are just not going to be able to do that anymore. Like, I just can't do it. I couldn't,
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in growing a really big practice. I'm not interested in helping bazillion people personally. And when I coach people personally.
Mm-hmm.
I have a vested interest in my client's success, and I will work with you for a really long time. I'm not, I gather friends really, and connections with people more than I want just people to give me money. It's
Right. It's just such a shame, but I have to believe it's changing, and I'm going to do all that I can in my power to shift that from outside of, what's in it for me to what's in it for all of us. Like, how can we, how can we all support each other? And so I'll just continue to keep shouting it from the rooftops.
You go, girl, you go.
Yeah, well, light workers unite. I don't know, but I just know that people are here on a mission, and it's a mission of really helping me raise that consciousness. And I don't want them to get stuck in that 3D matrixy illusion and then give up on themselves. Give up on their mission. I mean, that it just goes so deep. I don't know if you can relate, but it's so deep for me. And I know it's deep for them.
I do what I do. It's like, to me, it's the most important work out there, is helping these coaches really get out and be seen and get their message out in a way that they can be heard, because they are changing the world. They're changing the way we interact with each other. They're changing the way we
healing it,
heal ourselves, and by extension, healing the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it all starts with one person, and that person has an effect on one other person, and that person's family is affected, and their communities become affected, and the whole world becomes affected. And it's really a big deal.
It is a big deal. And I think, that's why it gets me so riled up, because, the old way is dying. I wish it would die a faster death, but it's not going out without a fight. And I'm just here for the new way of doing it, and luckily I've been doing it that way for a long time, especially on the sales side of things. And so I feel real comfortable here, and I want to make sure that other people know, because, it's such a hard program to break. Like, you mean I really can get clients without all the tricks and pushing? And it's like, absolutely you can. Like, that's just a way. It's not the way,
It's not necessarily a way that feels all that great. And you shouldn't do things that don't feel good.
That's right. And it's not just, we have to make that delineation between fear and just absolutely out of integrity and alignment, and that discernment piece is big. It's a big one. It's a big one in this day and age, what's real, what's not. And where do I fit into all of this? But, the more you can continue to just keep that channel open, that's all available to you. And that doesn't stop when you build a business. That's another thing I find working with a lot of the more spiritually minded is they're like, yeah, I know about the law of attraction. I get energy totally. I'm like, well, how well is it working for you in your business? And they're like, it's not. It just kind of goes to by the wayside. It's like, well, that works here too. It doesn't just work, by getting a cup of coffee or a parking spot or, meeting your soulmate. Like it actually works in business too. So let's not forget that. And that's where that whole woo and the do comes back in because, but the whole industry is just like, take this step, then take this step, then take this step. And then that's it. And then you're good. And I think I already said this, but if it was just about plug and play and just taking action, then everybody in the industry would be millionaires. Unfortunately, it's not that simple.
I know that you have a gift that you give to people when they visit your website. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yes, thank you so much. So the gift it's a lot of what we've been talking about. What am I missing in my biz quiz? And it walks through all three of those stages, right? The messaging and bringing people in, the connecting piece, and then the enrollment piece. And just like, where are my cracks? Where are my holes? A lot of my clients are just like, I need more leads. And I'm like, how many do you have in your, I have like, a couple hundred. I'm like, well, what are you doing with them? Oh yeah. Like I need to do stuff there too, and it's not just about leads. I know it's hard to hear that, but it's what you do with those people. And so this quiz is going to show you where you may already have people in your audience. I'm sure you do that want exactly what you have, but there's cracks in this, very basic funnel. And so if you take that assessment, it's going to tell you where you might be dropping the ball throughout this little funnel process that I talk about, not to be confused with like big fancy funnels and landing pages. This is just the client buyer journey.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be difficult.
It doesn't.
It's just having conversations with the right people.
That's it.
And
sharing your message, connecting and making them offers when it feels right, but yeah, a big thing I talk about is simplify to amplify. And I think a lot of people need that. They are shiny objecting their butts off and they got to reel it in.
It's so easy to get distracted by all of the different pieces of all of these different kinds of funnels out there. And they're all different marketing systems. But when you're first starting out, it's really hard to recognize that you're seeing bits and pieces of systems that aren't really one system. Like somebody's doing a workshop and somebody else is doing a freebie and somebody else is doing paid advertising to a book and somebody else is doing email marketing and using solo lists and somebody else is doing podcasting. I mean, these are all different systems. They're complete systems. There's like a beginning, a middle, and an end to these funnels. And when you start trying to take pieces and mash them together because you only know how to do this piece and this piece and you missed all of the other connecting pieces that make the process really simple, you're not going to get the result you want. You're just going to be really busy.
You're going to be really busy. You're going to be really busy feeling like you need to do all these different things. And I'll leave the audience with one of the things that I'd really like for everybody listening to consider. All strategies work, but it's the one you decide that's going to work and you stick to it and you work it is the one that's going to work.
Even when it's boring and even when you're like, oh God, I just don't want to do this one more day. Do it one more day.
Do it. And, if you need to take breaks, let the doing come through the being, let it feel joyful and inspirational as much as you possibly can. But, just stick to it, decide what it's going to be for you and do it because no, I know it looks good and they're so good at telling you, you were missing this. If you just had this one thing, it would all change. And don't forget, right? Don't put the blinders on, because these guys have marketing teams that know exactly what to say to make you go, that's the thing. Right. And so you beware of that. And I'm not saying their thing doesn't work, but I'm saying keep your head down and work your thing, and when you can do that, that's when things start clicking. But as long as you're just kind of bouncing around in Shouldville, it's a long road. It's a long road.
And the shiny object syndrome it's a real thing. You see something that looks like, oh God, that's what I need.
That's the answer.
That's the answer. And you try it and you're like, oh God, this is so hard. And you keep at it. And then you see something else. And you just keep in that cycle instead of just go through the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Just stick with it through the hard part. And I promise you that it will pay off. You will start climbing out of the hard part eventually. You just have to do it enough.
You do. And instead of asking the question, how do I do it? How do I do it? Like, start asking the question, how do you want to do it? Because the more in this little funnel that you enjoy, then it's going to be that much easier for you to do it. I don't love writing. So, I want to do more videos, of course, so other people don't want to do, but, so don't do the things that aren't the good fit. Pick the stuff that you're strongest at and decide, oh, I can really get on board with doing that. Okay, well, let's look at connecting. How do I want to do that? I think I really want to do a lot of videos and like have people from my Facebook group come on and let me interview them. Like, that sounds like a much better way for me to connect than sending, 5 emails a week. And so, just finding, and of course, I have to say, working with a coach that's going to help you with that, right? Because just because you kind of have an idea of like, what do you want it to look like? Now have somebody help you execute it. Let them like infuse in you the shortcuts and the best practices and where are you getting blocked and all of the blind spots that we can't see.
Keep you on track.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to just go, shoo.
It's like, oh, no. Remember, Jill, we were not doing that. We didn't talk about doing TikTok.
Workshops and TikTok. Yeah. Just pick the thing you're going to do and just do that. And if you have a coach who knows the steps, has been through the path and can help you stay focused, because that's really one of the bigger things. It's just doing the same things over and over. That's how you get to be a master at your craft.
Right.
And then you'll get to do the coaching part, which is, what we all signed up for, not the selling part.
Right.
Most coaches didn't sign up to be entrepreneurs. They signed up to help people.
I know. And I know they want to help people, but unfortunately, in order to do so, it's not like Field of Dreams, like if you build it, they will come. Like, there's just more to it. And that's just the world we live in.
More, but a little bit more.
Yeah. You gotta, they have to know you exist.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, Jana.
Me too. We could just go on forever. Thank you for having me.
It's my favorite topic. I'm very passionate about it.
Again, just another hint. Like, why did we choose what we chose as our ways to serve? Because we could talk about it all day long. It lights us up, and that's what you want to follow.
Yeah. So, what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today?
To just really, you do have the answers. They are within you. It may take people to help you tease them out and become clearer about them, but you are your biggest guide, your biggest coach, your biggest cheerleader. And so really leaning into that and trusting it because it's obviously wants what's best for you. So why not? And chances are it's what got you into the space in the first place. So let's continue to listen to that.
Amen. Amen. Thanks so much for joining me. And I will be sure and put your links in the show notes below so people can get in touch with you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.